Over
All
to
right.
you, Ayo.
Okay, allow me. Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the live session of today's training, Sustainable Management of Biodiversity. And I want to believe you have a lovely weekend. This morning, we are not going to exceed our time. It's just 90 minutes and strictly 90 minutes. Okay, I'll quickly run through the agenda. Today, we're going to have a training on what biodiversity is like on your farm. And we're going to have the overall objectives of the course, the methodology, the activity involved, and what biodiversity is in your own word. Of course, we're going to have the Zoom chat and video, and that will not last more than 15 minutes. The sequence we're going to go through today are 1 and 2. Sequence 1 deals with definition. The activity there involves regulation and support services. And the other activity there involves self-maintenance services of termites and earthworm. That will take us 30 minutes. We're going to have a short break, which will last for 5 minutes. And then we'll go over to sequence 2, which has to do with biodiversity, the importance and arguments on biodiversity. Of course, we're going to have a plenary session, and that will take us just 10 minutes. We're going to give room for question and answer, thereby we summarize. I want to believe that I believe you are going to enjoy yourself, you are going to learn more, and we're going to share a wealth of experience. We rub mind together, we see how we can improve and make our environment more sustainable. And of course, biodiversity smart. Permit me to unshare my screen while I give us a quick ice break. It's not going to last more than 3 minutes. Thank you very much. I'm still very much with you. We're still expecting some of us to join. So while we are waiting for some of us to join, may I know if you can all see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, it's coming up. Okay, someone sent a message. Okay, all right. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now on the screen, what you can see is how many logs of wood can you see? And I will permit Matthew to go first, and after which Ibrahim Sheikh will go. So may I know, Matthew, are you there, please? Is Matthew there? Matthew, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and check out what we have for you today. Okay, probably Matthew cannot hear me. Over to you, Ibrahim. May I know what you can see? How many log of wood can you see?
It's complicated. I can see 3 from one side and 4 from the other side.
3 from one side and 4 from the other side. So what can you deduce? Is there anything you can deduce, please?
I think what I can deduce from this is that it depends on where you are,
Okay.
or your own situation. What might be 3 to somebody, what might be right to you might be wrong to the other person.
You are absolutely correct. Thank you very much. Okay,
Yeah,
over to you, Matthew. Is Matthew there?
Hello, yes.
Yeah, Matthew, you're welcome on board. So can you see the screen, please?
Yes, please.
Okay, can you just depict what you can see?
Hello?
How many log of wood can you see, please?
Yes, I can see one side 4 and then the other side 3.
That's perfectly correct. May I know what you can deduce from what you can see?
Yes, it means depending normally situations or whatever, or environment or whatever you're looking at, everybody can see something different from the other.
All right, that is perfectly correct. Both of you are absolutely correct, and let me applaud you for that wonderful interpretation. It is a principle we are going to follow on this training course because our perspective to life varies. And since our perspective to life varies, we are entitled to our own opinion. And where we need to really emphasize, we will emphasize. There is a part that is saying 3, and there is another part that is saying 4. Both of them are correct. Applicability is very much important. So thank you very much. And after the training course, after this training session, where I'm going to take us through the tiles, and I'm going to enlighten us on how to go about the assignment and what we need to do in between now and Thursday when we're going to have the other synchronous session. So I wish you all the best, even as allow me to take us on the training. Thank you very much. Permit me to share my screen. Over to you, allow me, please.
Thank you, Ayo. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. So permit me to share my screen. Can we all see my screen, please?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Can see your screen.
Thank you. This model is Introduction to Biodiversity. So we're going to introduce ourselves, what we already know, some of the things just to recap on things that we already know, and to dive more deeper into things that we already know. This model is broken into 2. We're going to have the first session today, and then on Thursday, we're going to have the second session. This first session is more of interactive model to know what we do specifically on our farm, to know how we've been able to apply biodiversity on a farm, and that will help us also to dive deeper into how to increase biodiversity and how to reduce biodiversity losses on our farm. So on this training, the overall objective is that at the end of this model, each of us must be able to understand the different types of biodiversity, the wild biodiversity, domestic biodiversity, landscape biodiversity. We must be able to understand the role of hedges, refuge areas, buffer and flower strips, and the relationship between biodiversity and agricultural practices. Also, we must know how to assess the quality of biodiversity. It is important that we know how to assess the quality. What's the quality of biodiversity that we have on our farm? It's just not that I have biodiversity, but what is the quality? So we're going to look at the biodiversity indicators. Then we're going to know the impact of various production system on biodiversity. How do they impact biodiversity negatively and positively? Then we know how to analyze practices that may lead to a risk of biodiversity loss. So if you're doing a particular practice, you'll be able to analyze what I'm doing. What is the effect on biodiversity on my farm? The last is we'll be able to know how to determine recommended practices to preserve or restore biodiversity. So the methodology that we're going to use, the method that we're going to use for this module is it's going to be a 60-minute interactive section. That's why it's going to be us talking together. It's not a teacher student training at all. We must be able to come together and reason together and dive and bring out the problems, and then we're able to provide solution to the problem. Then there's going to be a brainstorming session where you're going to use different tools like we explained, Woodclap, Zoom breakout session, charts. These are tools that we're going to use, palettes and the like. Then we continue to encourage us to participate both online and offline. There's going to breakout session, like I said, we're going to do plenary. All this will be used throughout the training session on this module. So to the training today, what is biodiversity? So I'm asking the first question in your own words, what is biodiversity? So please go on to the chat box on the Zoom page. If you look at your panel, you see mute, stop video, security, depending on how you have it. You see chat, C-H-A-T. Can you put on the chat in your own words, what do you think biodiversity is? We have 2 minutes for this exercise. What is biodiversity in your own words? Matthew and Matthew, Ibrahim, can you put right there? And if you cannot write, can you, okay, Ibrahim, thank you. Biodiversity is having variety of organisms in the environment. Correct? Thank you. Matthew, we're waiting. And if you cannot type, if you want to speak, can you unmute yourself and speak as long as your network is stable? Matthew, are you there? It seems he's not there. Okay. So, okay. I can see your response now. Biodiversity is the biological difference and variation of life on Earth. Wow. Very also good. So let us dive. You can see that from the two definition, a personal definition that we've written, it involves organisms. It involves the environment, because the Earth, like Matthew said, is our environment. So it's more of organism interacting with the Earth. So let's dive deeper now into this. To go forward, we're going to look at a short video to help us interact, and then we now move into discussion with ourselves. Let's look at the different, this short video. So permit me to unshare my screen, please, and go. Can we hear, please?
No. Can see the video, but no, can't hear the.
Can you hear now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Our planet's diverse, thriving ecosystems may seem like permanent fixtures, but they're actually vulnerable to collapse. Jungles can become deserts. Reefs can become lifeless rocks, even without cataclysmic events like volcanoes and asteroids. What makes one ecosystem strong and another weak in the face of change? The answer, to a large extent, is biodiversity. Biodiversity is built out of three intertwined features: ecosystem diversity, species diversity, and genetic diversity. The more intertwining there is between these features, the denser and more resilient the weave becomes. Take the Amazon rainforest, one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth due to its complex ecosystems, huge mix of species, and the genetic variety within those species. Here are tangled liana vines, which crawl up from the forest floor to the canopy, intertwining with treetops and growing thick wooded stems that support these towering trees. Helped along by the vines, trees provide the seeds, fruits, and leaves to herbivores such as the tapir and the agouti, which disperse their seeds throughout the forest so they can grow. Leftovers are consumed by the millions of insects that decompose and recycle nutrients to create rich soil. The rainforest is a huge system filled with many smaller systems like this, each packed with interconnected species. Every link provides stability to the next, strengthening biodiversity's weave. That weave is further reinforced by the genetic diversity within individual species, which allows them to cope with changes. Species that lack genetic diversity due to isolation or low population numbers are much more vulnerable to fluctuations caused by climate change, disease, or habitat fragmentation. Whenever a species disappears because of its weakened gene pool, a knot is untied and parts of the net disintegrate. So, what if we were to remove one species from the rainforest? Would the system fall apart? Probably not. The volume of species, their genetic diversity, and the complexity of the ecosystems form such rich biodiversity in this forest that one species gap in the weave won't cause it to unravel. The forest can stay resilient and recover from change. But that's not true in every case. In some environments, taking away just one important component can undermine the entire system. Take coral reefs, for instance. Many organisms in a reef are dependent on the coral. It provides key microhabitats, shelter, and breeding grounds for thousands of species of fish, crustaceans, and mollusks. Corals also form interdependent relationships with fungi and bacteria. The coral itself is a loom that allows the tangled net of biodiversity to be woven. That makes coral a keystone organism, one that many others depend on for their survival. So what happens when destructive fishing practices, pollution, and ocean acidification weaken coral or even kill it altogether? Exactly what you might think. The loss of this keystone species leaves its dependents at a loss too, threatening the entire fabric of the reef. Ecosystem, species, and genetic diversity together form the complex tangled weave of biodiversity that is vital for the survival of organisms on Earth. We humans are woven into this biodiversity too. When just a few strands are lost, our own well-being is threatened. Cut too many links and we risk unraveling it all. What the future brings is unpredictable, but biodiversity can give us an insurance policy, Earth's own safety net, to safeguard our survival.
Thank you for watching that video. So now permits me to unshare my screen, and then we're going to go into a few minutes discussion. Like I said, today is more of an interactive session. So Mr. Ibrahim, I want to hear from your side. What do you do in your farm? And what's are the biodiversity practices that you already have in your farm?
Oh, okay, thank you very much. My name is Ibrahim Sheikh. I'm working as an agronomist in LATC Agro, as the senior agronomist there. Some of the practices of biodiversity that we're embarking on, first of all, we are practicing, we have introduced tree crops, because basically the farm is, we are growing vegetables, tomatoes, peppers, habaneros, cucumbers. But now we are really moving into tree crops like tangerine, like guava, we have pawpaws, and the rest. And now we are even planting trees throughout the fence of the farm. We have melina. And apart from that, we don't really do serious tillage on the farm. What we do is minimum tillage, and we use a lot of organic fertilizer too, not only in organic fertilizer, and some organic pesticide too, are incorporating it into the system so that at least we'll not be using more of chemicals. So I think that's all that I can say for now. Thank you. Only if
Thank
you
you.
if you need more information from me, then so that will not take our time. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you too. That is quite impressive. I remember that some of your colleagues had taken this course earlier, and we encourage that this practices increase on your farm, and they incorporate more trees into the farm. And I'm glad that we are hearing a positive feedback from that. Mr. Matthew. Matthew, can you share with us your practices, your biodiversity practices on your farm, on your cultural farm? Hello, Mr. Matthew. Are you there with us?
Hello?
Yes, please.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. I said, for us over here, already the land is made of a lot of wood logs, and then a lot of wild species. We are into the tree crops production to coconut, mangoes, guava, and a whole lot of trees. And then we are also into the vegetable production and most tree crops. So over here, we had actually we have both poppy field and then the greenhouse production. So for here, and then we are also into the animals. We do some small goats, and then this the fowls. So I think we are really into an organic production. Most of our productions are organic in nature. We are preparing our own. We do our own compost, our own organic manure for our open field and our greenhouse production. So I think for here, just to not to say much, we are really doing our best. Even sometimes we have to do away with some of the wild trees. Especially we have the wild species of the coconut. Locally, it looks like the coconut, but really it's not the coconut we know. It's the airways they're having a particular name for it, which look like the coconut, but it's the wild type. We have them a lot on our farm, which we do with some of them to create space for production to go on. So I think, in short, we are actually looking at a lot of protecting our environment while doing our production. So I think that is just what I have for the biodiversity we are practicing on our farms. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Matthew. And thank you for sharing what you do on the farm. As we move on, you will see that, yes, we've started doing a lot, and there's still a lot more that we have to do on each other's farm to create the kind of biodiversity environments that will thrive, that will help the ecosystem of where we are. So permits me to go back to share my screen. So from the video that we watch, we can see that it's important that we understand the relationship between one species and the other species. It's important we know how they connect to each other, how they benefit each other, because destroying or trying to reduce one species can actually have negative effect on other species in the environment. For example, Mr. Matthew just shared with us, they have this wild coconut. I know the coconut because we are both in Ghana. And they have to pull down those coconut type of trees to make way for what they want to grow. Within the time that they put down those trees, and before the new trees they are growing is going to get to that stage or even half of the height of the one that just fell, it's going to take a while, like 3-4 years, so to speak, before that can happen. So do we actually try to think of the negative impact of that action in 3 to 4 years? What are the negative impacts? So if we do this, this helps us to try to think, how do we fell the tree in such a way? What time should we put down this tree so that it does not have negative impact on our farm or on the ecosystem at large? So these are part of what we are going to learn on this course: the indicators, measuring, making right decision as at when due to enhance biodiversity on our farms. So we move on to the sequence 1, which is topic 1 for this course. We're going to define and share importance of biodiversity, which we have, written and which you've watched a small video. So at the end of this particular objective, we're going to understand the definition of the various biodiversity, and we know the services provided by the wild and domestic biodiversity. We understand the concept of regulation, services, and self-maintenance, and we understand the roles of edges, refuge areas, buffer strips, flowers in our horticultural farm. So what is biodiversity? To me, biodiversity is bio plus diversity. It's 2 words that are being brought together. Bio means life, and diversity means biological diversity, different things, different biological things, different organisms. So these 2, when they bring it together, it means the life and diversity together. And when you put the 2 together, the 2 words together, that is bio and diversity. And in biodiversity is studied at 3 levels. You study the ecosystem at large, you study the species living in the ecosystem, each of them, and then you study the gene specific to each species. Because, for example, like Mr. Matthew just said, the hybrid coconut is different from the Ewe local coconuts, but they are both coconuts, but different varieties. So as an horticultural farm, we need to understand the specific gene of each of this variety that we grow. For example, we grow different types of tomatoes. The one we grow on the open field is different from the one we grow in the greenhouse. Even in the greenhouse, we can decide to grow different varieties of tomato. How does this variety interact? How does they respond to each other? These are specific understanding that we must have so that we can, it can help to enhance our knowledge in biodiversity. Also, we have what we call companion planting. In companion planting, what are the crops that I can grow with this crop that can help this other crop? What are the crops that if I plant it around this crop, it's going to retard pests or insects? What are the other crops that I can grow around this crop? And when I plant them, it's going to affect the growth of my main crop. So this knowledge comes from the understanding of the gene specific, understanding them and how they interact with the ecosystem, and which is very beneficial to us to know from our different farms. The services provided by biodiversity within the context of agricultural activities are, we have regulation services and support services. These are the two main services that biodiversity provides for us. When we look at the regulation services, these are benefits resulting, from the regulation of the ecosystemic processes, such as the regulation of the air quality, soil fertility, the prevention of flooding and disease, and crop pollination. When you regulate all the activities that we do in the horticultural farm, when they tell us this is how to do this, this is how to do that, this is the amount of carbon, the amount of nitrogen, all this regulation, this is your air quality, how it's supposed to look like in your pack house, this is the quality of air ventilation that you must have. When we put all this regulation in place, is a benefit that we enjoy from that biodiversity provide for us. And it also improves biodiversity as we regulate all these activities that we do. The second type of service that is provided by biodiversity is a support service. And this is also called self-maintenance service. So it's either you call it support services or you call it self-maintenance services. These are required for the production of all other ecosystem services. For example, providing living spaces for plants and animals that we are not even rearing or we are not growing, enabling species diversity, not doing monoculture, trying, even as much as you are doing greenhouse, you are still combining biodiversity even in the greenhouses, and preserving genetic diversity. This particular variety that is more dominant or that thrive better in the ecosystem that we have, how to preserve them and how to make sure that they keep growing there. These are the services that biodiversity gives to us. We go to the wild, we see a lot of different plants growing there. You know, nature is balanced. So many of these crops in the wild, they interact in the forest, they interact with each other and they do not harm each other. When we now want to grow, we need to mimic that kind of environment and try to mimic it and try to play along those plants so that they can accommodate each other and they can have companionship with each other and thrive in our ecosystem. So with this diagram, we're going to identify the services provided by diversity. We can see different letters on this diagram. And I want us to try to be able to think, what does this letter entails from this picture? Just take 1 minute to first of all look at the picture, the diagram. Look at the diagram holistically and then try to see what is the diagram telling us. This is a biodiversified horticultural farm or establishment. So what are the things that we are seeing? What are the letters standing for? Let's take 1 minute to think about this, and then I will call us to explain what we can deduce from the diagram. So try to look at the diagram holistically and try to think. It's not something difficult at all. and identify the services that each of the letter is providing in this horticultural farm. So who wants to go first? Mr. Matthew. Matthew, can you try? Can you try to pick at least one letter and tell us the services provided for this?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Yes. I can R. I can see that it's a wheat providing a buffer zone, at the same time preventing the silting of the waters flowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jonathan, please, what can you see?
Hello.
Hello, good morning, Jonathan. Welcome.
Morning to you. Thank you. I can see W. W. I think okay. That I think is a wetland because I can see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I think a W is a wetlands. Down there, because I can see the river flowing down there, so there is a wetland there. And okay.
What does the wetland does? What service is the wetland providing for this biodiversified horticultural farm?
A source of water, and also control the weather.
Okay, thank you. Mamo, I hope I am pronouncing this name correctly. Please correct me with the right pronunciation.
Yes, it's Mamur. Good morning.
Good morning.
WB, which I think is a windbreak. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So what
Yes.
services is it giving to this biodiversified farm?
It can be a habitat for wildlife. Reduces the effect of wind erosion. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ibrahim, can you pick one letter and tell us what it means, and also the service that this letter is providing to this biodiversified horticultural farm? Ibrahim, are you with us?
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry,
Yes,
I was distracted for some meetings.
Yes.
I was
We can hear you
distracted
now.
for some minutes, please.
Okay. So from this diagram, pick a letter and tell us R has been picked, W has been spoken about, WB has been spoken about. Pick another letter and tell us what it means from this horticultural farm, and also what it's doing, the service it's providing. Okay, it seems Ibrahim is not with us. So let's continue, please. So we'll see from that, yes, some of us we were all able to pick one letter and were able to discuss this, the service it provides. So he's on that diagram stands for erosion. And we can see that it involves edges which follow contour lines. We can see that it prevents soil. This is the he. We have he at different locations, and it prevents erosion, soil erosion from eroding to the bottom of the hill. So this is where the E are standing on the diagram. Then we have we have grasses around the area. The grasses are preventing also erosion. They also serves as prevention for other or a place where the other microorganisms can thrive. The grass cover the orchard, and also it prevents wind or torrent rains from eroding the entire farm. Then we have living harvest waste in the prevents soil erosion by wind or also. So these are the services that this erosion prevention service provide to the horticultural farm. Then F, which is flood prevention. We have grasses here. They prevent erosion also, both soil erosion and water erosion from eroding the entire surface and taking away the fertile soil from the ecosystem of this horticultural farm. So we have the P, which are the pollinators. I'm trying to look at the P's, where they are situated. They are the pollinators. They try to pollinate. The insects come there. The flowers are grown around where the pollinators are. The flowers are grown so that the insects can come to that environment, beneficial insects, and they can create pollination for our trees, for our crops. We all know that if they are not around, we will have less yield, because they are the ones that brings pollination, and pollination helps that the fruits and the produce come on our products. So these are very important that we keep them in our house. I found some greenhouses so that in such cases that they have to introduce pollinators into the greenhouse when they found out that yields are not enough. And that's why we have sometimes we do self-pollination. We have to do hand pollination or certain crops also. So, and a lot of effort has to be made in pollination. So it's good that even around the greenhouses that we can, even in the greenhouse, we can have few flowers in the greenhouse. And then naturally, we can introduce pollinators into the greenhouse. And in the open fields, they are there as many flowers that we have, because the smell itself attracts them. And also, when we have flowers around our horticultural farms, we can go into beekeeping. And this is going to be another benefit into our establishment when we have beehives, and then the hives are giving us honey and we are able to sell it. So as much as possible, our horticultural farm becomes diversified. Then we have the PC, which are the pest control, the field borders with many flowers and other semi-natural infrastructure habitat for crop auxiliary. So we can see that from here, we have a lot of beneficial plants. So like I was saying before, we have what we call companion planting. We have plants that they repel naturally, they repel insects. naturally. Their smells repel insects from affecting our plants, and they will help reduce the use of synthetic inputs that we use, herbicides that we use. And even if we are using biopesticide, naturally these plants will provide what we want, the insects that we want to deter. And when that is done, it also automatically reduces our cost, because then we spend less on buying or formulating whatever we use for pests as pest repellents. And the aftermath effect is, even though this we're using biopesticide, they have less effect on the ecosystem, but one way or the other, they might still have some interaction with other natural microorganisms in the ecosystem, because we might not kill them, but we might send them away. Even when we use biopesticide, one might deter another, one might affect another. Even though they are biopesticide, they are not dangerous or harmful to the environment. So, but when we have all these natural plants around, they can do the work for us naturally and then reduce what we spend. Then we have the R, which is the reduced runoff. The strips of land without crops around field captures excess fertilizer. We can see that excess, if we have water flowing from the upper side, upper stream to the lower stream, we will see that a lot of fertile soil. We always see that on our horticultural farms, that lower side of a farm has soils that are rich, because all the fertile soil will have been eroded into the lower side. And then we can take this back and put them on our soil. And also the way we put our crops, the way we line our crops on our horticultural farms, determine how erosion plays on our horticultural farms. The topography of our farm is very important. And when we look at the topography of our farm, we determine how we place the crops, whether horizontally or vertically, or in hexagonal shapes, so that they are able, when they are growing, the leaves are able to cover the soil and they are able to reduce the erosion that comes into our soil. And then we are able to put some measures, the borders, we are able to grow certain strips of flowers and shrubs that can prevent erosion from flooding into our horticultural farm, and thereby reducing the soil fertility of where we grow our crops. So these are very important. We move on to the regulatory services. This PowerPoint is going to be on our e-learning page, and then we will be able to have access to it to read more into this discussion. We have regulatory services. These are benefits obtained through regulation of the ecosystem, which I have talked about before. We have the micro and macro climate regulation. Now, the COP conference is going on, and I'm sure many of us are following the conference and the declaration and side events that are taking place. Everybody is now saying that we need to take action. We really need to take action now. So there's going to be, at the end of the day, a lot of declaration, a lot of regulations that is going to come into place from all the meetings that are going on. And these are benefits to us, that we improve our biodiversity. Then erosion control and ongoing soil fertility. These are benefits obtained through regulation of the ecosystem. When we are growing in our horticultural farm, they always tell us that even when we buy compost or we are producing compost, our carbon should be this, our nitrogen should be this, and then when we apply this into the soil, those are the benefits. For this crop that you are growing, for tomato, for example, your nitrogen should be this, your potassium should be this, your phosphorus should be this, and other micronutrients that is essential for the growth of the tomato. These are regulations that has been set. These are for us to follow so that we can get the desired yield. And as we follow them, we are actually making biodiversity to thrive, because then as we apply those compost or those fertilizer, we are trying to increase the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and all these elements that we need in our farms. The other regulation is that we need is the regulation of hair. Now, when we want to do a lot of certification, all these things are now coming in. We have the global gap, we are doing organic, we have the organic certification. Now we have fair trade. Now a lot of certification are incorporating all these services into their certification questions, so that they check that actually now we are practicing biodiversity, and biodiversity is thriving in our horticultural farm. Then we have water regulation. If we want to do certification, they will check our water. Where's our water source? Have we tested the water before? These are regulations that are already in place, and it's beneficial to us because they are regulating the ecosystem processes for us. Then water purification and waste management. Waste management is an essential commodity for an horticultural farm. Now, how do you manage your waste? Where do you pour your waste? Do you compost all your leftover and those materials that cannot be composted, that cannot go into compost? How do you discard them? Is it close to your water source? They will check all this when we are going through our different certification, and all this has been regulated. What it should be has been regulated. So it's very important that we follow the regulations that are already established for the different horticultural farms that we operate in. Then regulation of pests and disease. These are set rules that has been put in place. What you can use if you are doing organic, these are the things that is allowed. These are the things that are not allowed. If you're doing global gap, for example, even with global gap, there's limits to what you can use now and what you cannot use. Certain pesticides have been banned. They are not allowed again in our horticultural farms. And even when they are allowed, can we see my screen, please?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. I just want to check, when you're doing online, you don't know sometimes when certain things happen. So the regulations are already in place, and it's helping our ecosystem, and it's going to continue to help our ecosystem at large. So any question before we continue? Any question before we continue, please? So now, if there are no questions, thank you. We're going to go to the different types of biodiversity now, and the services they provide, their benefits to us. Like I said, today is just introduction. We're just these things we already know. We're just bringing back into our memories all those things that we know. It's basically an introductory class. So we want to talk about wild biodiversity. Wild biodiversity is essential to maintaining conditions favorable to life on Earth. And these are the benefits of wild biodiversity: the maintenance of local and global ecological balances. What are wild biodiversity? Those are areas that we live, that are growing on their own. The forest area, even in our horticultural farms, when we get there, those areas that we live that we did not clear off, that we met on the farm, and then we're still allowing them to be the same, to thrive. Those are wild areas of biodiversity on our establishment. And it has global impact. impact. It's not just local impact that it has on our horticultural farms or our community. It has a global impact. As we maintain those wild biodiversity areas, it has a global impact. Then there's stability of atmospheric oxygen production and of the global climate. In this part of, Africa that we are not measuring all this that they are doing in the developed country. They are measuring, taking a lot of measurements, your CO2 now, how are you emitting CO2? How are you maintaining your CO2? They are measuring and they are giving bonuses back to the farmers depending on what you are able to do on your farm. But if we cannot measure, at least we can take care of our environment and use measures that we know that we are trying as much as possible in our capacity to be able to stabilize the atmospheric oxygen in our production area so that it is not polluted, it is not harmed, and our horticultural farm is well taken of. Then the formation and stability of soils. We all know that soils around Africa, a lot of them are acidic. A lot of them are we have low soil fertility around where we are. And we need to increase our soil fertility. And we need to protect even what we have. The protection is the first stage before even moving to increasing the soil fertility. Many at times, we focus more on increasing soil fertility without trying to maintain or protecting what we have. So we need to, in this course, we are going to look at how we can protect what we have already. Then the circles of the elements and the habitats available to species. Where this wild species, where they are, how are we taking care of them? The habitats, for example, in the wild bird environment, do we have a little stream there so that this wild species can go there and take water? How do we nurture the birds so that they can drink water, especially during the dry season, so that they do not come into our farms to even disturb and peck on our crops when they are thirsty? So all these are things that are important that we need to look at and create a biodiversified environment so that as we crop and increase our yield and our income, we are also providing an environment that is good, that is sustainable for the wild species. So we're going to go, like I said, into wood clap, and I am going to share my screen and then copy the link into the chat box for us. And then when I copy this link into the chat box for us, please just copy it into your browser and it will take you to a page. What we're going to do is we want to discuss the differences in 2 sentences. Just state what is the difference between regulation services and support services in 2 sentences, just 2 sentences. So please, so I have copied the link into WoodClap. Please just copy it into your different browsers, and then it should take you to the WoodClap page automatically.
Can we see the link again?
It's on the chat box. It's on the
Follow me.
chat box. It's on our chat box. Just copy the link on the chat box that I just sent to everybody and put it into your browser, whatever browser you're using. Mama, you want to say something? Or you're saying something?
Oh.
So you will be seeing something like this. If you look at my screen, this is the page. Sorry for this. This is a page that this is the page that you will see on your browser. Have you been able to try it? Matthew? Matthew? Mama, have you been able to do it? Hello? Hello? While we're doing
Yes.
that, have you, once you type and you submit, I am going to say it. It's going to appear on my screen and everybody will see your answer. So try and do it now because it's a tool that we are going to use throughout this training exercise. So we want you to try it today so that it becomes very easy for everybody to use. Matthew, we also want you to try it. The other 3 people are falling off. I'm sure it's the internet connection. Are you trying it, Mamo?
Yes, I am signing up for free.
Okay.
My internet is slow.
Yeah, it needs a bit stronger internet. Matthew, are you there? Okay, while we're trying that, we'll go on our 5 minutes break. Just keep trying what you're doing. And then in 5 minutes, we'll return back But please keep trying to finish up before the 5 minutes is over. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. We will now continue. We'll continue our discussion. Were we able to go on wood clap? Hello, Matthew and Mama.
Yes, please, madam.
My
But
connection
wasn't good.
that my connection was interrupted.
Oh, okay.
I'll get there.
Okay. So let's continue.
Yeah.
Self-maintenance.
Too wide.
Mr. Mamo,
okay.
your hand is raised.
Yeah, I was saying connection was interrupted.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Self-maintenance services. The following provide different services, self-maintenance services to the ecosystem. We're going to look at the different things that provide services to self-maintenance services to the ecosystem. We look at the edges, number one. Example, its support services include the production of atmospheric oxygen. When we have hedges, good hedges with a lot of trees, it increases the production of atmospheric oxygen in our horticultural farm. It also helps in the formation and retention of soil. When we have good hedges with shrubs, with trees, with different stratas of plants, from trees to shrubs to the grasses, all around our horticultural farm. Then part of the service they are providing, self-maintenance service they are providing, is they are helping to form good soil and to retain good soil in our horticultural farms. Then they help in biogeochemical circles. They help in the water cycle and habitat and food for wildlife. Notable for crop auxiliaries. This place becomes a place where the wildlife, they come, the insects, the micro and macro organisms, they thrive, they have food to eat, they live there. They are able to thrive and they are able to multiply there. And they are able to have food to sustain them in that space. And then it also creates, a different type of atmosphere for our horticultural farms. You will always see that a farm that has trees all around the border, the buffer zones, when you drive into the horticultural farm, the weather there is always different from where you are coming from. I've experienced it many times. You will feel it. Even the hair, the kind of hair around that area is totally different from what you find outside. So it's important that we increase this in our horticultural farms. As much as we want to take a lot of space to grow our crops, yes. But we'll see that at the end of the day, the little space we leave for the edges to grow, it's going to be more beneficial to us than when we plant all around our farms. Then we're going to look at the service that the earthworm is providing. What are the services that the earthworm is providing? The impact on formation and development and fertility of soil. We all know this very well. The earthworm helps our soil. They burrow into the soil, they create pulses, they turn the soil, and they create a lot of pores in the soil that allows air and water to flow efficiently and effectively into our soil. And we know that they produce a waste, which we call the earthworm waste. When earthworm casts, when this casts, you can even gather them and put them as make them as a compost, and then use them as soil fertility, even in your bags that you are using to grow in the greenhouse. You can collect the earthworm cast. You see it's clay hard. That is their waste. You can collect them, soak them in water, and then add them to your soil, even in your growing bags. It's Matthew that is doing greenhouse. And that has a lot of nutrients endowed in it. Also, they play the role of ecosystem engineers. They are good engineers. They drive into the soil. They do a lot of work in the soil for us. They modify the soil structure. Yes, this is one of the benefits of the earthworm. They modify the soil structure. They make it very loose. It becomes very loose. They act on the dynamics of organic material, releasing nutrients essential for plant growth. They have an indirect effect on the flow of organic materials and of water. These are the benefits that the earthworm provides to the ecosystem. We'll look at the termites. As many people do not like termites on their farms, but they also have their own benefits they provide to the ecosystem. They recycle wood, they help in soil aeration, they help in soil fertility, they increase atmospheric gases. These are the benefits that the earthworm creates into our farm. They break down organic materials. When you fell a tree and you leave it there, termites will come. They will eat the wood. They will break it down, and the rest of the wood will decompose and increase our soil structure. So these are benefits that the termites do to our farms, even though some of us see them as very destructive, but they also have a good side. Sometimes the termites hill. If you can take that clay hill also and put them into water and use them as nutrients, so they contain a lot of phosphorus. So we can take part of that clay, break them the top without disturbing the termites inside, and then add them to our soils to nourish our soil. These are part of the benefits that they create to us. So we'll stop on this note, and then on Thursday, we will continue and increase the discussion. And we hope that on Thursday, a lot of people will be able to join the session, because it's better we have a lot of us on the live session, then we can interact. It also gives the trainers the energy to speak better, because then we can interact better and we can dive into the course much better. Over to you, Ayo.
All right, thank you very much for allowing me. And I want to appreciate Matthew, Nano for their attention and concentration in the course of the training. Can allow me on share, please. So I want to believe you have gained one or two things. So I'm going to take us through the week 1 type and what is expected of all of us to attend to. Why we are doing this is just to test our knowledge of understanding. There is no big thing there. Like I said, there is nothing as it's not what is difficult. I hope you understand what I'm saying. So it's just to tell, to share with us, and it's just for you to test what you have understood so far when it comes to this particular training. So we have a very brief exercise for every one of us, which we need to attempt. And we also noticed that about 4 persons have attempted to enroll so far. They have attended the entry knowledge questions, introduction, so to say now. So we still need the remaining to do so. So if you're on board now and you have not done you have not introduced yourself on the e-learning platform, please do. These are some of the requirements that we need to get you certified. And before you know it, you get a certificate and you can use it anywhere. Share my screen now. Please permit me to share my screen. Okay, Ibrahim is on board. Thank you for coming back. Okay, can you all see my screen, please? Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
thank you
I'm
very
having
much.
issue with my internet.
Oh, so sorry. That is a general problem. It's a general problem, and it's very peculiar to Africa. So we understand. We understand. So this is week 1. This is what Olaomil has been taking through, which I believe you have benefited 1 or 2 things. And when you go through week 1, when you come to your e-learning platform, this is what it looks like. Okay, this one has not uploaded. Sorry about that. So once you go to your e-learning platform, you click on week 1. And once you click on week 1, you will see introduction to biodiversity. When you move down, Olaomil rightly highlighted the objectives, which she is doing justice to. And you move like this, you see Zoom recording. This particular one will be embedded in week 1, day 1, because we are in day 1 now. So it will be embedded in there. You will see it in a couple of hours time. So you are expected to go through the Scrum. We call this one Scrum. Can you see my cursor, please? This is my cursor. Can you see where I'm putting my cursor? So you're expected to go through it. Let me just open it so that you can see what I'm talking about. So once you click on it, it opens like this. Okay, it's coming up, it's coming up. I have just 3 more minutes to go. Okay, so once you click on it, it opens up. And once it's opened up, it brings you to this page. Please pardon me, the internet is a bit slow. That is why it's not loading as fast as possible. Okay, it's unsafe. I may not be able to wait for it to load. So let me go back. So I will show you what it's like. Okay, please permit me to unshare this. I've already back. So let me unshare this particular one. So I'll share with you where that should take you to. Okay. I'm still very much. All right. So I'm going to share with you where it will take you to once you double click on it. So I have 2 more minutes. So it will take you to this particular page. May I know if you can see my screen, please?
Yes.
Can you all see my screen? Oh, good. So it will take you to this particular page. So once you get to this particular page, now you see the role and importance of biodiversity in agricultural production. Everything Olawumi has been training us on, you have them and much more information. So once you get to this place, you click on start this. You will see start this by your right hand side. Just click on it and you go through, you read through, and I'm very sure you are going to have a proper knowledge of what we are talking about and much more. So please permit me to unshare again. Let me go back to our main page. I'm very much with you. Please pardon me. We are trying to see how fast we can so that we will not keep holding you. I'm trying to unshare my screen now. Okay, someone sent a message. Let me see what the message is about. So then you are supposed to go through an exercise. The exercise is just to list. My system is okay. I think I've been able to unshare now. Okay, it's still coming up. The exercise is just for you to list. Okay. Okay, sorry, it's still coming up. Okay, you are supposed to, once you scroll down, while the system is coming back to the face, once you scroll down at the week 1, the Taiwan, you will see the exercise. Double click on it. It's just to highlight an event. For to fail, it's just to test your knowledge. There is no big deal there. It's just to test your knowledge. That's all. No big deal there. You on Thursday, of course, there are some of the participants that are not around as we speak, but we are working and we are hoping that everybody will be on board on Thursday. I may need to stop here because it's already 1 minute to the dot of the time we're supposed to stop. So on Thursday, we will talk more about the assignments. We'll talk more about it, but do well to go through the tiles, download the PowerPoint that Olawumi is taking us through. That knowledge you can preview it before you come to the next class. And I believe that you are going to add more to the knowledge of biodiversity even on your farm. Thank you very much. Is there any other thing Olawumi would like to say from her hand before we conclude on this note?
No, please.
All right. So to Mama, to Ibrahim, once again, we appreciate your attention. We applaud you for this. And we believe that it's not a time wasted. So do we have any question for us? Mama, Ibrahim, is there any question you want to put through to us? All right, no question.
No.
Good, no question. Thank you very much. We appreciate your presence. From here, we are saying goodbye. Allow me like to say goodbye to you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.